Throughout the last 20 years in the NFL, there have been some dream what-if scenarios that came true, such as what if the best quarterback and the best wide receiver teamed up in their primes? Well, you get the 16-0 New England Patriots that failed to win a Super Bowl. Another instance is what if the best two cornerbacks teamed up in their primes? Well, you get the Dream Team Eagles. And there are plenty other scenarios where we play the what-if game and they come true, and sometimes they win a Super Bowl, they become a great duo or a great trio or a great team, or vice versa. But in today's video, we'll be going through some what-if scenarios that could have changed the league overall in the respected years and the respected Super Bowl champions. So let's get into it. Now, our first one, it goes back to 2001, and that is, what if Jamal Lewis stayed healthy in 2001? Now, if you guys don't remember, in 2000, the Baltimore Ravens, they had that historic defense going crazy all out the season, but they had a pretty mediocre offense, and their passing attack was piss poor, bottom of the barrel, but their only saving grace was the rookie in Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis from Tennessee, a nice, powerful running back, strong running back. He ran with some authority, almost like Nick Chubb, a bell cow running back. And in 2000, he had a really good, solid rookie season, putting up about 1,300 yards. And just so that we can highlight his three best games, in Week 4 versus Cincinnati, he had 25 attempts, 116 yards, and 1 touchdown. In Week 13 versus Cleveland, 30 attempts, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And in Week 12, 28 attempts, 187 yards. So bro was balling out, and going into the playoffs as a wild card team, it was a lot of pressure on Jamal Lewis. What can he do in the playoffs? And yes, he did have a phenomenal wild card game with 30 attempts, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. In the division round versus Tennessee, versus the heavily favored Tennessee Titans, he only had 17 attempts and 47 yards. He had a touchdown, and going into Oakland, again, he underperformed with 29 attempts and 79 yards. Not like his season, but I mean, as a rookie, I mean, it's a lot of pressure, but going into the Super Bowl, that's when it really matters. Can you do it in the bright lights? The biggest game of the season, the first Super Bowl of the new millennial. How did he play? He had about 27 attempts, 102 yards, and 1 touchdown, and a dominant win. And in his rookie season, he won a Super Bowl going crazy, being the workhorse running back that these running backs dreamed of being. And going into 2001, they had many pieces of their defense, obviously keeping Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson, and many other players, and they added some more offensive help in drafting Todd Heap in the first round to go alongside Shannon Sharp. So the future was looking bright in 2001, but the worst thing happened to the Baltimore Ravens that offseason. In 2001, in training camp, the Baltimore Ravens, they were running some drills, and Jamal Lewis went down with a nasty injury, and immediately everybody knew it was his ACL, and he tore his ACL before the season even started. So immediately the Baltimore Ravens had to scramble to find a new running back to at least match half of his production, because Jamal Lewis was the offense. And they signed a veteran running back in Terry Allen. And Terry Allen, although he's not Jamal Lewis, he did put up a respectable 600 yards for being an old running back. And the Baltimore Ravens, they didn't collapse, but they weren't like the 2000 Ravens. And they went 10-6, making the playoffs. In the first round, they played the Miami Dolphins, which they won 20-3, and then they will go on the road to play their divisional rivals in the Pittsburgh Steelers, losing 27-10, and that will conclude their 2001 season without Jamal Lewis. And again, the Baltimore Ravens, they did not collapse as a team. They still won 10 games without their best offensive player. So the biggest question is, what if the Baltimore Ravens had their dominant running back in Jamal Lewis in 2001? Realistically, I can still see them winning about 11, maybe 12 games. Not like 14, 15 games, but they probably would have still won about 1 or 2 more games, and probably would have had a higher seed, and possibly would have played the New England Patriots, the eventual Super Bowl winners, and could have knocked them out before the Tom Brady dynasty ever started. Hey, that's just a what-if game that I'm thinking in my head. But as we know, after that 2001 season, the Baltimore Ravens, they never really matched that 2000 and 2001 season. They would go on being very mediocre, having a really good defense, but offensively, they never really got it together, and which held them back for many years. That Jamal Lewis injury should have woke them up to get a new quarterback immediately, but instead they kept with the Jamal Lewis plan, run the ball, and obviously he had historic seasons, but the thing is, it never really translated into winning playoff games and winning seasons, things like that. Now this next one is going to be a little bit of a controversial take, but hey, why not say it? It's, what if the New York Giants play the New Orleans Saints in the 2011 playoffs? Now hear me out. Prior to this season, Eli Manning and the Giants struggled to beat the New Orleans Saints up until this point. They had about 3 or 4 meetings, and although they won one, Eli Manning has played terrible in each and every last one of them. Now, in 2005, when Eli Manning first met the New Orleans Saints, they actually won 27-10. And again, it sounds good, but when you really watch the game and you look at the stat line, Eli Manning had 165 yards on 13 completions on 24 attempts and 1 touchdown. And Tiki Barber, he actually carried with 22 carries and 83 yards and 1 touchdown. Boom, really simple. But after that, the next couple meetings, Eli Manning would struggle. In 2006, when they played, he threw for 9 for 25, had 74 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a devastating blowout loss, 30-7. And this was at the Giants Stadium, by the way. And then in 2009, Eli Manning struggled once again, throwing for 14 for 31 on 178 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in another lost 48-27. Now, yes, I do understand that he can't play defense, but his offense performance is just not matching what he usually does. And finally, in 2011 season, the same season where the Giants won the Super Bowl, they struggled versus the New Orleans Saints, losing 49-24. Now, yes, on the surface, Eli Manning had 406 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also had 1 interception, and he did not throw his first touchdown to the 4th quarter, and the team didn't even score their first touchdown to the 3rd quarter, in which by that point the game was pretty much over, and they were just getting garbage minutes, garbage stats, and things like that. And all I'm saying is, what if they would have played each other in the postseason? Because again, prior to that 2011 Super Bowl, the Giants, they struggled more specifically. Eli Manning, he struggled versus the New Orleans Saints, but I will give him some credit because first Super Bowl, Eli Manning, he was not throwing for 300, 400 yards. They had sort of that run style first with Brandon Jacobs and Tiki Barber, I think that's his name. But post first Super Bowl, they was throwing the ball a lot more. He got more comfortable, but I would have loved to see that matchup, the Saints versus the Giants, with Eli Manning rise up to the occasion in the most important game versus a team that he struggled in the regular season time and time again, or will he crumble under pressure and fold and just not get that second Super Bowl ring? I think that would have been really interesting had the Saints beaten the 49ers in that crazy game. Now this last one, it actually benefited both teams that the events happened, but it still makes me question, what if Carson Wentz never got hurt or Sam Bradford never got hurt for the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles? Now, as we know with Carson Wentz and the Eagles, Carson Wentz, he had a historic, really great 2017 season until he got hurt versus the Los Angeles Rams. He tore his ACL. He was never the same player again, which is very key. He was never the same player, never as mobile, never as accurate, never as confident as he once was. But when he got hurt, Nick Foles came in, and as we know, had a historic playoff run, winning the Super Bowl versus Tom Brady and the Patriots. Classic story. I'm going to say it to my grandkids one day. On the other hand, with the Minnesota Vikings, they had Sam Bradford starting in week 1, and when he went down with his injury and they put in Case Keenum, he lit it up all season. And now it's really more so, what if Case Keenum didn't come in? Because I think with the Eagles, I think it's like it can go 50-50. I think Carson Wentz, like, he could have won, but at the same time he may have not. You know, it really, we really don't know. I mean, I think it's still up in the air. Maybe we could. But with the Vikings, we knew Sam Bradford, like, he was the starter, but he was a game management. He was a bridge quarterback. I think at the time they were still had high hopes on Teddy Bridgewater coming back from his injuries and things like that. So I think if Sam Bradford didn't get hurt, they would have rolled with Sam Bradford all season, and Case Keenum probably would have touched the field. Those are just my thoughts. But the thing is, obviously, if they roll with Case Keenum, they would have been another mediocre team in that 2017 season. Maybe not even made the playoffs that year, because if you remember, prior to that, the Vikings were very mediocre in 2016. And Sam Bradford was very mediocre in 2016, and with the Eagles in 2015. So I think that's a really interesting conversation. What if Sam Bradford didn't get hurt? Now, from the Eagles standpoint, if Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt, I think he still would have gotten hurt sometime in his career, because Carson Wentz, he was never a safe quarterback. He will always try to dive for extra yards. Obviously, he tried to dive for a touchdown in that game and things like that. He always had the stigma of trying to play hero ball, and as we know, that actually has hurt his career a lot more these past 2 or 3 seasons. So I think in Philly, even if he didn't get hurt in that game, in that specific play, I think he still would have gotten hurt sometime in his career, because again, Carson Wentz has never been a QB slide quarterback, or just play it safe. He wants to play hero ball every single time, and I don't think Nick Foles would have gotten his big contract with Jacksonville or gotten this many chances in the NFL. I think after that 2017 season, he may have been out the league. But those are just my thoughts on this scenario. It is very interesting what would happen with my Eagles if Carson Wentz didn't get hurt. But hey, man, that's going to be the conclusion of this video. This is just my thoughts on some what-if scenarios I was just thinking about in my head, and I wanted to put it out in video form. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, or what is another what-if scenario that could have happened, or things like that. But hey, if you like this content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I love all y'all, man. Peace.